Okay. So in the morning, we have come up with the methods of the execution of the civil works. In that methods, we have gone through the some of the methods like the uh, contract by doing the contract, then pay work method, then piecework agreement method, petty work method. These are nothing but methods of execution that we have gone through in the morning session. Okay. After that, we have gone through the objectives of the making any contract. That part also we have covered up. Objectives of making any contract. So some objectives again I'm going to highlight for everyone. To execute the work by the experienced person. Yes, if you are going to make any kind of agreement or any kind of contract, the client is going to expect that you are the experienced one. You are having some experience of that particular work, so that only he will taken into the consideration for making any agreement with you. Okay. Then whatever the agreement or the contract that you are going to make, it should be um, helpful. That is, whatever the work that we are going to do, it should be with respect to the specifications which have been there. Then this agreement will help us to execute the work with the most compatible rates that I am again we have discussed in the morning session. Now, as far as the next or the last part of this chapter is considered, is nothing but the essentials of the legally valid contracts and what kind of relation is to be required being in between the client and the engineer and the contractor, or client and the contractor. See, there are three persons who are going to be involved in any project. First is nothing but the client, second one is nothing but the contractor, and third one is nothing but your engineers. Now there is a many there is a big debate which is going on, that is of the introduction of the contractors in our field. They are not taken into the consideration, that is they are not taking any considerations of the engineers, and that is why in the last week you have gone through the whatever the disaster which has happened in Mahad. That building is get collapsed, 5 G+5 structure is there that was collapsed, and that was collapsed due to the faulty construction practices. Means there is a very less involvement of engineers, and that is why this debate is now going on. But still, being an engineers, we should be proud, and we should definitely the client should concern, or the client should take a concern of an engineer rather than going for a pure contractor who is not an engineer by profession. Okay. If he is an engineer by profession, then there is no problem. But if he just have the experience of doing the works but not an engineer by the profession, then maybe there will be some problem regarding some technical aspects. Okay. So our last topic that we are going to discuss, that is nothing but the requirements of the valid contract, or the essentials of the legal valid contract. Now what things that we should have before making any contract should be in writing. The first and the important thing, there should not be any verbal communication. नाही मी फोनवरती सांगितलं होतं मग असं करायचं. No. If you are the client and you are going to assign the work to an a contractor or to an engineer for construction of your open plot, for development of your open plot, then whatever the things that is been decided verbally or telephonically, I can say, that should be on the papers only. Okay. And that agreement should be signed by both the parties. It is not only I have written, no, I have to use vitrified tiles and all that, but that should be signed by both the parties, that is by the client also and that is by the engineer also. Then and then only that contract will get valid. Okay. So according to the law of contracts, it should be in writing and it should be signed by the both parties. That we have to focus on. Okay, so whenever in future you are going to take any kind of work, please remember, please make, you are going to make the agreement or you are going to make the contract with the client of whom you are going to take the work, and that agreement should be in written. So what parts which are been there, conditions of the contract, these are been there. Then what kind of material, what quality parameters you are going to focus on, what kind of labor workmanship or machineries that you are going to use. So you are going to indicate each and every aspect, whatever you are going to you are using for executing that particular work, that is been involved in that particular contract. So contract should be in writing. That is the first essential or the first requirement of a valid contract. Unless and until contract is not in written, the contract is not considered as a valid contract. Okay. Then contract should be subjected to the lawful subject matters, as your contract may involve some frauds, crimes, or gambling. Okay. Now, what kind of frauds or gambling being there as far as contracts are considered? There may be some illegal. You have not taken the proper permission of the competent authorities. Okay, your plan is not been approved by the authorities, or there are some lacunas which have been there in your contract. Okay, so contract should be subjected to the lawful matters, whatever the rules and regulations which have been set up. See, there are many rules and regulations which are being set up for the making of any contract. Okay. Now, I think if somebody has given their land on rent, they have made some contract with the party. Okay. So they know some rules and regulations. But if you are totally unaware about the contracts or how it has been done, it is subjected to the laws which has been set up by Indian government. Every contract has to fulfill the laws which are being set up by the Indian government. Okay, that contract may be for your building construction, that contract may be for any other particular business work. Okay, but that is fully subjected to the laws and being that is under the jurisdiction of the Indian government. Okay, then attested by the witnesses. Yes, definitely. Our contracts, whatever the contracts that we are going to do, that should be attested or that should be attended by the witnesses or witnesses. Okay. So I think I will take your permission to speak in Marathi. Have you seen the agreement? What can I sell did? ज्याला खरेदी खत असं म्हणतात, बघितलंय कधी? खरेदी खत कधी गेलाय खरेदी करायला? मी अपेक्षा करतो भविष्यामध्ये तुम्ही खूप साऱ्या जमिनी खरेदी करताल, घर खरेदी करताल. वर्षातून 2 वेळेस तरी त्या दुय्यम निबंधकाच्या ऑफिसमध्ये चक्कर मारताल खरेदीसाठी. विक्रीसाठी नाही, खरेदीसाठी. तेवढा पैसा कमवा. सो इफ यू गो टू व्हिजिट दॅट ऑफिस, जिथे खरेदी वगैरे होत असते, तुमच्या खरेदी खात्यावरती विटनेसेस असतात, जर तुम्ही बघितलं असेल तर. ठीक आहे. विटनेस असतात. ज्यावेळेस खरेदी खत होत असतं त्यावेळेस त्याला विटनेस लागतात, 2 विटनेस लागतात. बट तेवढंच एक दुर्दम्य असं चित्र आहे आपल्याकडे, आपल्या फील्डमध्ये, की जे विटनेस असतात हे विटनेसचे फक्त फोटोज तो कॉन्ट्रॅक्टर किंवा तो क्लायंट खिशामध्ये घेऊन आलेला असतो, त्याचा फोटो चिटकवला जातो, पेनाने नाव लिहिलं जातं, काहीतरी एक रफ साईन किंवा एक काय झालं प्रॉक्सी साईन अशी मारून विटनेस तयार केले जातात. आपल्याकडे जमीन हडपण्यामध्ये किंवा हे जे काही तुम्ही प्रकरण ऐकतात यामध्ये हे विटनेसेस किंवा हे जे आहेत ना, ते कितीतरी देर आर थाउजंड्स अँड मिलियन्स ऑफ केसेस, सच केसेस. विटनेसेस, यस, दीज आर दी विटनेसेस, बट वेअर? एखादा विटनेस असा असतो की जो येऊ शकत नाही, तो कुठेतरी कंपनीत काम करतो, तुमचा मित्र असतो, मग तो त्याचा आधार कार्डचे झेरॉक्स तुमच्या जवळ देतो, कारण ते तुमच्या आधार कार्डची कॉपी तिथं स्कॅन करावी लागते. ठीक आहे. किंवा पॅन कार्ड असेल, जे काही तुमचे केवायसी डॉक्युमेंट असेल. सो विटनेसेस ह्या अशा पद्धतीने काही गोष्टी होत असल्यामुळं, त्याच्यामध्ये तेवढी पारदर्शकता नसल्यामुळं बऱ्याचशा वेळेस जे कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट केलं जातं ह्या कॉन्ट्रॅक्टमध्ये विटनेसेस जे असतात त्या विटनेसेसचा कुठलाच रोल प्ले झालेला नसतो. त्यांनी कुठला खरेदी खत म्हणा किंवा इतर कुठले ॲग्रीमेंट ते प्रत्यक्षदर्शी नसतात. त्यांनी कुठेतरी त्यांचा फोटो दिलेला असतोय, कुठलं केवायसी डॉक्युमेंट दिलेलं असतं, ते तिथे जस्ट यूज करतात. दॅट इज अगेन इलिगल. देअर शुड बी विटनेस अँड दॅट इट इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल पर्सन. ओके. जो विटनेस असेल तो तुमच्या ओळखीतला, विश्वासाचा आणि रिस्पॉन्सिबल पर्सन असला पाहिजे ज्यावेळेस तुम्ही कुठलंही कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट करतात. ठीक आहे. The signature of both parties should be attested by another responsible person or the officer, and the seal of the department is also fixed on the agreement. आपल्याकडं खरेदी खताच्या स्टॅम्पला एक माणूस बसवलेला असतो. मी जे चित्र बघितलं ते मी सांगतो, इथं माहित नाही मला कशी कंडिशन आहे. खरेदी खत झाल्यानंतर डॉक्युमेंट स्कॅन होऊन बाहेर पडतात. बाहेर पडल्यानंतर एक व्यक्ती असतो, तो स्टॅम्प मारायचं काम करत असतो. तो फक्त बघतोय हा विटनेसची सही आहे, तो विटनेस कुठे आहे काय माहित नाही, पार्टी आहे नाही माहित नाही, जस्ट मेकिंग द स्टॅम्प्स. ठीक आहे. आणि 100-100 रुपये घेतात लिटरली. दिवसभरातून हजारो डॉक्युमेंट येतात त्यांच्याकडे स्टॅम्पसाठी. ठीक आहे. सो सम this corruption part is again there, which I also have noticed somewhere. Okay. Not everywhere, I don't know what is the condition in Solapur also, but these things are going to happen. These are realistic things. ज्यावेळेस आपण तुम्ही खरेदी वगैरे करायला जाताना भविष्यात तुम्ही बघतालच, तुम्ही काय करणार नाही, तसेच घेऊन जाणार, विटनेस काय लागत नाही. ठीक आहे. देन again, as far as this contract is considered, that can be entered into the court of law. All the conditions should be according to the law, that as I already have said in my first point, that is whatever the contracts which we are going to make, it is subjected to the laws set by the Indian Penal Code. Okay, that is IPC, and your Indian government. Okay. Next and very interesting thing as far as these contracts are considered, that is nothing but the parties must be competent. Okay, parties must be competent. So the parties which are entering into the contract should be legally competent. According to the Contract Acts, minors, idiots, drunken, that is drunken people, that their period shall be considered to be legally incompetent entering into the contracts. Okay. So who is not going to be the competent authority to make the contract? जर तुम्हाला कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट करायचं असेल तर यामध्ये who are not eligible to make the contract, that is what we are going to discuss. The first person who is not able or who is not having the authority to make any contract is nothing but minors. Now, what is minor? As per the Indian Act, every person domiciled in India has to attain his majority when he completes his 18 years of his age and not before. That means if you are below 18 years, you can't make any kind of contract agreement. Please listen once again. If you are below 18 years, as per the Indian Government Act, okay, you are not supposed to make any kind of contract. Though you have made it, then that contract is not a valid contract. Okay. So if you want to make a valid contract, you should be the you should pass out that particular boundary of 18 plus. Okay, you should be 18 plus years old, so that you are considered as eligible for making any kind of contract. The second one is nothing but the idiots and the lunatics. Now, what is idiots? Idiot is nothing but a mentally disturbed person, and lunatics is nothing but a person with an unsound mind. Okay, idiots. I think this word you are familiar with. Everyone knows who are idiots. Idiots are nothing but who are mentally disturbed persons. Okay, their mindset is not stable at one position. Okay, and lunatics are nothing but the persons with an unsound mind. See some stringent thoughts which are running through their minds and all that. Okay, so these are the thing but the lunatics. Okay, so again these are not considered as eligible for making any contract. Then drunken person, if the drunken person justifies his truthness. Okay, if the drunken person are justified his truthness, in some cases they are considered as eligible, otherwise drunken persons are not at all eligible to make any contract. Okay, so while making contract, if person is drunken, then that contract is not get valid, because at the time of making contract he may drink something. Okay, so that is again what we have to focus on. Parties which are competent to make the contract, apart from minors, idiots, lunatics, and the drunken person. And if the person is over 18 years old, then only that technically or with a good mindset, that persons are eligible to make any kind of contract. Okay. So again, coming back to the point, uh, legally valid contract, as we are focusing on that particular thing. As I said, the first condition is nothing but contract must be in writing. Then it must be registered according to the law of registration, that is by the Indian Penal Codes Act on the laws. Then it must be between the parties standing in near relation to each other, that means your client and the engineer, or it may be any other person, then it should be processed out of the natural love affection between the parties. That means there should not be any emotions, any relations you are going to introduce while making any kind of contract. It should be strictly adhered to the professional level. Okay, your contracts should be at the only professional level. There should be no love, no affection, no personal relations that you have to consider. Strictly professionally you have to make the contracts. Okay, otherwise that will affect your contract documents. Okay, and the free consent, again, that is what we are going to see. Consent is nothing but संमती देणे, संमती पत्र ज्याला म्हटलं जातं. So both parties should sign the document without any force by the other parties. ठीक आहे, दोन्ही बाजूने कुठलाही दबावाला बळी न पडता तुम्ही कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट करत आहात. जसं तुम्ही मूवीज मध्ये बघता बघा, ठीक आहे, गन पॉईंट वरती कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट लिहून घेतलं जातं किंवा जमीन एका व्यक्तीच्या नावावरून दुसऱ्या व्यक्तीच्या नावावरती केली जाते मूवीज मध्ये. हे तितकंच रिअलिस्टिक सुद्धा आहे जितकं तुम्ही मूवीज मध्ये बघितलेलं आहे. जागा बळकवणे, धमकावून घेणे, ठीक आहे, जागा हडपणे, हे जे प्रकार होतात ते एवढेच ते रिअलिस्टिक आहेत. म्हणून कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट जे असतं इट इज अ फ्री कन्सेंट. कन्सेंट म्हणजे संमती. तुम्ही ज्यावेळेस कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट करत आहात, दोन्ही बाजूंना, दोन्ही पार्टीजला, म्हणजे क्लायंट आणि इंजिनियर किंवा इंजिनियर किंवा कॉन्ट्रॅक्टर कोणी असू द्या, ज्या दोन व्यक्तींमध्ये कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट होतंय हे दोन्ही व्यक्तीवरती कुठल्याही प्रकारचा दबाव, ताण तणाव, कुठल्याही प्रकारचं प्रेशर नाहीये. ते स्वखुशीने, स्वतःच्या संमतीने ते कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट करत आहेत. इज इट क्लिअर? ओके, सो या पद्धतीनं तुमचं कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट हे असलं पाहिजे. Only that contract will help you to make understand the things. Okay, the next is contract between the contractor and the employer, contractor and the employer. कुठल्या कुठल्या कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट्स होतात? कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट होतं क्लायंट अँड द इंजिनियर, इंजिनियर अँड कॉन्ट्रॅक्टर, और द क्लायंट अँड द कॉन्ट्रॅक्टर. असे तीन वेगवेगळे माणसं असतात, client, contractor, engineer. So contract between client and contractor, contract between contractor and engineer, contract between engineer and the client. It may be anything. Okay, so that three categories we are going to deal with. So while doing the contracts, we are passing through some of the appointment or the authorities, okay, which are relating with your construction work, which are playing some important role in your construction work. That parties are nothing but your first is nothing but your project in charge, project manager, deputy engineer. It is different for the site conditions. Then senior engineer, junior engineers. Now if you are taken work in your own hand, you are the project manager and you are also the work as a junior engineer. Okay, so you are whole and soul boss and as well as your engineer also. So sequence wise, if your big projects are there, then we are having project in charge, we are having the deputy engineers, we are having the senior engineers, we are having the junior engineers, we are having the supervisors. Okay, so all these person are going to play important role as far as any project is considered. Okay, they are going to play very important, and I think everybody is familiar with the role of project manager, engineer, senior engineer. In our first unit also we have discussed this part in detail, not in um, what can I say, introductory. We have studied this part in detail. So some functions of the engineers I am going to discuss with you. Chief engineer's function is nothing but he is nothing but the technical head of the department. He has to submit the budget proposal to the government. That is his work. Acceptance of the tender, tender स्वीकारणे हेही त्याचंच काम असतं. Sanctioning the deposit amount or deposit work, purchase of the livestock, any material purchasement, that is under his jurisdiction. Then as far as superintending engineer is considered, see why I'm going a little bit faster, because again this whole part in the upcoming few lectures we are going to repeat it many times. Okay, प्रत्येक व्यक्तीचं फंक्शन काय हे तुम्हाला तोंडपाठ होईल. Okay, then as far as superintending engineer is considered, see chief engineer is the highest authority if for any particular organization. ठीक है, followed by the secretary of the government and the government. Suppose state government of Maharashtra, then under the secretary of government of Maharashtra, being followed by PWD, any other MJP, or it may be irrigation department. Again, that is being followed by the chief engineers, then followed by the superintending engineers, executive engineers, subdivisional or divisional engineers, deputy engineers, assistant engineer. Okay, so likewise, this sequence are there. So function of the superintending engineer, administrative and technical control, then exercise the financial control also, arrange the procurement of store, that is purchasing of the materials, then administrative control in respect of the technical staff. Okay, he will work as a head of that particular department in the absence of the chief engineer, but chief engineer is there. He is again the technical head of that whole department. Under chief engineer, superintending engineer is there. Under superintending engineers, executive engineers, they are there. Under executive engineers, your subdivisional, divisional, assistant engineers are there, and then your junior engineers and all that. Okay, so their work has been very clearly specified. Function of the executive engineer is to see that the work is taken in the hand without the administrative approval, then to exercise the effective supervision of the work. And again, one more thing, interesting thing, whatever the tenders which are been there, which are you are going to see in the newspapers, uh, to prepare the tender, that work is of executive engineer. टेंडर बनवण्याचं काम हे एक्झिक्युटिव्ह इंजिनियर्स तयार करत असतो. ठीक आहे. मग त्याला ऑथॉरिटी सुपरिटेंडिंग इंजिनियर अप्रुव्हल देतो किंवा चीफ इंजिनियर कडून अप्रुव्हल असतं, परंतु टेंडर बनवायचं काम हे तुमच्या एक्झिक्युटिव्ह इंजिनियर्स तयार करत असतो. ठीक आहे. Then it carries the inspection work office at the assistant engineer, subdivisional or subdivisional officers. Okay, at least once in a year. एक वर्षातून एकदा तरी पूर्ण कामांचं अधोरेखित त्याचं इन्स्पेक्शन करणं, प्रत्येक कामाची देखरेख ठेवणं, किती टूल वापरलाय, कुठलं मशिनरीज वापरल्या आहेत, किती प्रमाणात मटेरियल वापरलेलं आहे त्या पर्टिक्युलर गव्हर्नमेंट ऑथॉरिटीने. ठीक आहे, त्याचं मॉनिटरिंग करणं, त्याचं कंट्रोलिंग करणं हे एक्झिक्युटिव्ह इंजिनियरचं काम आहे, अलॉंग विथ मेकिंग ऑफ द टेंडर्स, व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट वन. देन असिस्टंट इंजिनियर अरेंज द स्टॉक्स, एक्झिक्युशन, प्रोग्रेस, कम्प्लिशन ऑफ ऑल ओरिजिनल वर्क्स, चेक दी वर्क्स इन प्रोग्रेस, सध्याची कामं आहेत ते त्याची प्रोग्रेस तपासणे, मेंटेन द कन्स्ट्रक्शन अकाउंट, टेक द प्रॉपर केअर ऑफ द कॅश अँड द स्टोअर, चेक द मस्टर रोल्स, काम किती इंजिनियर्स कामाला जात आहेत, कामाला आलेली आहेत, किती इन्स्पेक्शन करतायत, सर्वांचं कंट्रोलिंग ठेवणं. त्यानंतर असतात आपले लास्ट ज्युनियर इंजिनियर्स. Junior engineers will supervise all works in the hours, then executed through the contractor, maintain the attendance of the departmental works, maintain the attendance of the departmental employees, and that is daily labor on the muster roll and of casual labors, then takes the measurement of all the works in the measurement book. सगळ्यात जास्त काम ज्युनियर इंजिनियरलाच राहतं. Preparing the running bills and the final bills in his in charge or in his charge, carries out the field survey and the proposal of the project. Already we have discussed, still I am repeating for you. Then carries out the half yearly check of all the stores, carries out the annual inspection of the all structures, initial disposal of unserviceable stocks, tools and the plants. Okay, so starting from chief engineers to the what I can say, junior engineers, we have to work it on. Okay, but again, one more thing I will share. If you are having a good score in your MPSC exam, now recent where we are having so many cases in our college also, or many students, alumni students have passed out this MPSC examination, civil service examination, with very good score in mains examination, having the difference of more than 30-40 marks. Okay, so that they are having the opportunity to grab the seat of what can I say, assistant engineer. Okay, having the again the class 2 or class 1 position, they can grab easily. So if you have the good score in your competitive exams, you can go directly for the higher post also, you can get that opportunity also if you are having the good score. Otherwise class 2 and that will not be away from you. Okay, so again, keep the thing in the mind. If you are preparing for any competitive exams, prepare it likewise. Now you should have the very strong score, and you are having the choices in your hand whether to go for irrigation, PWD with class 1 or class 2. Okay, so that is what I want to share with everyone. Now 2 minutes are left. If anyone is having any doubt, you can ask me. some classification of the work is there. Minor work is up to 2 lakh, sorry, major works costing more than 2 lakh, now it is up, considered as 3 lakhs. Okay, and then petty works up to 50,000, minor works again more than 50,000, but in up to 2 lakhs, these are considered as minor works. Petty works costing up to 5,000. Okay, uh, that's all about the uh, our unit number 3. So whatever the remaining part which are not been there, which are not been included, that is content beyond the syllabus. Now our upcoming lectures I will again give you some highlights about that particular part also. So if still anyone is having any doubt, you can ask me, you can unmute or you can talk, or else I will take your attendance for this particular time. uh, okay, today it is not possible for me to take the attendance also. I have noted already 34 participants including me, that means 33. Anyone is having any doubt? Otherwise, from the next lecture, that is tomorrow, tomorrow we will going to finish our chapter number 4, and then after we will start with the section 2 of our QSV, that is tenders, contracts, and valuation work. Okay, again the most interesting topic that we are going to learn in upcoming few days. So if there is no doubt, I will take your leave for this particular time. Thank you for attending the lecture. Please stay home, take care of yourself and your family members. Thank you. Goodbye. If you are having any doubt, you can put it in the chat box or you can send me a message. Okay. Thank you, one and all.